Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. This is Thegameconomist, and today we're going to be working on weapon popularity for January 2019. The last weapon popularity video I did, of course, was 2 months back. That's what I do. Every 2 months go by, I take another look at the weapon popularity. That gives the weapons enough time to kind of shift around, right? If you check it every month, you're checking too often, because they don't move that often. Now, before we begin, I want to thank Razel for helping me get the PlayStation statistics. I already got them myself on the Xbox and the PC since I have both of those now. So yeah, each time I do this, I'm going to need help with the PlayStation, so I do appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be using kind of a different, what do you want to call it, template for showing you the weapon popularity. In the past, I've been using these terrible looking graphs. They don't always even make sense, and I have a problem with them where they fill up the whole screen. It's very hard to do comparisons between this weapon popularity video and the data from the previous video. So I'm using a different format now, and I think you guys are really going to like it. Essentially, I used Discord. I typed all the information in there, and I was able to add emojis that even makes it better. I have all the weapon emojis in my Discord channel, so I'm able to use those in the images that I'm going to use here. And what we'll have is we'll have green lines and red lines that kind of depict if a weapon has gone up in popularity or down in popularity. You guys should tell me in the comment section if you like this method better. I have a good feeling I'm pretty sure you're going to say yes, because I like it myself. I like it a lot better. Alright, let's get started with the Xbox. So we have Xbox popularity in January on the left, and Xbox popularity in November on the right. And we're basically going to go down the left side of the list, and I'll just talk to you about how it's changed. Starting with the longsword, it's now at 14% popularity. That's up by 1%. Actually, I should mention, you can see a lot of lines, right? That's because a lot of things have shifted. That's not true for the PlayStation and the PC. I don't know what happened on the Xbox. Maybe a lot of people stopped playing, or a lot of people started playing with new weapons, or a lot of new people started playing. One of those three. In fact, one of the questions we have to ask, maybe I should have started with this, one of the questions we have to ask is, how did the QR weapons affect everything? We got the QR weapons on the consoles, and the QR weapons, they come with critical element and critical status. What does that mean? Weapons that have kind of a slow attack are not going to be favored by the QR weapons. For example, the hammers and the greatswords, they really didn't benefit from the QR weapons. So jumping back to the list, you're probably already, if you're like me, you're probably already going down it with your own eyes, but let's go ahead and do this. So longsword up to 14% from 13%. Then in second place, we have the insect glaive. The insect glaive jumped from third place to second place, and it has an increase of 2% population. Then we have the dual blades in third place, which is a big jump, right? So dual blades before was in 5th place, now it's in 3rd place, and it has, instead of a 10% population, it has a 12% population. So interestingly enough, we see that the dual blades have made a substantial leap, and the question is, did the QR weapons cause them to go up like that? It's a possibility, because dual blades might have been one of the weapon classes that benefited more than the other weapon classes. Then in 4th place, we have the bow. It stays in 4th place from the previous data. However, it does go up in popularity by 1%, so it gets a green line as well. After that, in 5th place, we have the charge blade at 11%, up from 10% in 6th place before. And then we have a big decline for the greatsword. Now, once again, going back to the QR weapons, there's not really any good QR greatswords. So the question is, did that affect the weapon popularity? And I would bet that it did. I would bet that it did. Who knows? There could be any number of things that caused it, but I bet it did contribute at least some of this. So the greatsword was in 2nd place with 12% of the population, and it fell all the way down to 6th place with 10% of the population. I think out of all the declines in this video, that's going to be the largest one. After that, the hammer also fell. So the hammer was another weapon that didn't really benefit from the QR weapons. I was testing out the different elemental QR hammers and comparing it to the sleep hammer. The raw damage on the sleep hammer is just more favorable because, similar to greatswords, hammers get a lot of motion values, and that's very important for getting your damage output as opposed to attack speed for elemental damage. The hammer has a bit, I would say, better attack speed than the greatsword, but it's still not enough to overcome the fact that raw damage is more valuable on the hammer than critical element, or critical status you could probably make a different argument for. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people, I don't think speedrunners in particular really used the critical status weapons. There we go, the status weapons, the ailment weapons. Alright, and then in 8th place, pretty much the only weapon for the Xbox that didn't change place, the Switch X. Same population, same rank. Rank 8, 6%. In 9th place, we have the Sword and Shield, jumping up from 11th place previously, and it gained 1% population usage, not a big change. And then sadly, the Heavy Bowguns fall to 10th place, losing 2% of their player population. What is going on, guys? The Heavy Bowguns are amazing. How are they in 10th place? I don't even understand. They have one of the most powerful moves in the game, Cluster Bombs. Right after the Heavy Bowgun, we have the Light Bowgun. Light Bowgun's really interesting. We'll talk about that more on the PlayStation. Well, PlayStation has like a special case for Light Bowguns. We'll get to that. So 11th place for the Light Bowguns with 3% of the population. The population usage didn't actually change, but its ranking did. It went up to 11th place. And in 12th place, actually this is one of the sad things, I think in all cases the Gunlance fell in popularity. No idea why. I just could not tell you why. Any of you guys can speculate what you think it is. Gunlance has generally held its position throughout most of the weapon popularity videos that I've done. It doesn't shift around too much, but yeah, it kind of fell a bit here. Like, look, it lost literally half of its users. So it only is a loss of 2%, right? It went from 4 to 2, but if you just think about that in terms of only Gunlance users, it means fully half of the Gunlance users have disappeared. No idea why. So it went from rank 10 to rank 12. And then here's a surprise. The Hunting Horn has crept out of last place to be in 13th place on the Xbox for January with 1% of the population. And part of that might be that nobody's using the Lance. So I don't know why. That makes me really sad. I just made my top 5 Lances video that tells you what I recommend using for the Lance. And if you haven't seen that, maybe it will inspire you to get more into the Lances. But I hate to see any weapon only get 1% of the population. Ideally, if all of the weapons were equally fun, let's not even talk about balance. If all of the weapons were equally fun, you would see roughly whatever 100% divided by 14 would be. What would that be? And then we kind of have to sit back and wonder, why is it doing that? How do we get more people into it? Sometimes it's information. Sometimes you need to see somebody using it in a way that inspires you to have fun with it. Like, God, I want to try that too, right? But yeah, it's all the way in 14th place, finally pushing Hunting Horn up, I'm assuming. I can't imagine there's a great deal more Hunting Horn users. And in fact, we know that's true because Hunting Horn didn't go up to 2% of the population. However, it was the case that Lance went down to 1% of the population. So yeah, people are playing the Lance even less than before. So it's very sad. And that is all of the statistics for the Xbox. The Xbox, I wanted to start with that one because it's the most fun, because it had the most changes. So we get to speculate, right? That's what we like to do. Next, we get to move on to the PlayStation statistics. Again, I want to thank Razel for helping me get a hold of all these. And you'll see, similar to the structure I used with the Xbox, the new data is on the left, the old data is on the right. And you can see there's only 2 changes, really not that much. All the way at the top, you can see that the longsword went from popular to even more popular. God damn you, longsword. Look at it, 16% to 17%. You guys love the longsword. I have no idea why. I've played the longsword, it's all right, but it does not make me feel crazy engaged. Personally, that's probably how you guys feel when you pick up the Lance or the Hunting Horn. Those are 2 weapons I use a lot of, by the way, and it has nothing to do with the popularity. I use the Hunting Horn because I like to smash things. It's also one of the reasons why I'm into the Hammer, because I like to smash things. And the reason I'm into the Lance and the Gun Lance is because I like shields. So, and eventually I'll get into the Sword and Shield as well. But I don't know, Sword and Shield is kind of, it's not the same. I like big weapons as well. So Lance and Gun Lance are kind of like these large shield weapons. The Sword and Shield, it makes me feel emasculated, guys. I'm just joking. That's a joke. Anyways, so taking a look at the data, the other thing that changed, once again, we see that the Lance fell. It fell from 4% to 3%, and I didn't draw lines for this, but this actually boosts the Sword and Shield and the Gun Lance. They basically just swap places. I suppose I could have drawn lines for that. You know, when you're making these kinds of pieces of data, it's kind of an arbitrary thing. You're like, well, how should I visually display what's going on? But I've gone ahead and explained it in an auditorial way, so you guys understand what's going on here. And then let's move on to taking a look at the PC statistics, because we have once again another story. All the way at the top, we see the longsword once again just going up in popularity. That's for all platforms. It just went up. I couldn't tell you why. So it went from 17% to 18%. Why the hell do you guys love this weapon so much? Another thing on the PC that we knew, the bow is very popular on the PC. I've been told by players on the PC, part of that is because it's very easy to aim the bow with the keyboard and mouse. I don't know how true that is, because when I play on PC, I just plug in my Elite controller, to be honest. So it's almost like I'm still playing. It's almost exactly like I'm still playing on the Xbox personally. You also notice the Greatsword is still in 3rd place. I have a feeling part of that, well, it didn't fall on the PlayStation as well, so I don't want to make maybe a false observation or false speculation. But once again, I would say we would expect maybe more changes after the QR weapons came out. I don't know. Let's take a look at the I want to take a look at the PlayStation weapons again. So take a look at the PlayStation weapons. Actually, the Greatsword maintained its value in 3rd place. And the hammer maintained its value in 9th place as well. So, I don't know, guys. The QR weapons came out, and it seemed to have no effect on the PlayStation. What are the odds that maybe the Xbox is more active than the PlayStation? We don't have the real numbers, but I know that the Xbox has fewer exclusive titles, right? It doesn't have... Well, that's changed over time. They're buying up all these small studios, but it's still the case that they don't have a lot of exclusive titles to their brand, their console, and that means for Xbox players, you're typically playing the AAA publishers who publish across all of the platforms. What are the odds that the Xbox is actually more active than PlayStation? The other argument you could make is that a bunch of people left the Xbox, and then the people who stayed behind ended up boosting their weapon mains, if that makes sense. But we don't actually know. I know that I play on Xbox all the time still, so who knows. Jumping back to the PC, the longsword jumped from 17% to 18%. And then we also see that the heavy bowgun has gone up from 6% popularity to 7% popularity. It didn't, change rank, but I'm absolutely fine with it going up in popularity. It's my favorite weapon. I like to see people using it. And then sadly, once again, we see the gun lance falling. We do not see the lance falling in this case, but yeah, the gun lance went from 10th place to 13th place, losing 1% of its player population. Admittedly, not a lot, but again, if you think of it in terms of only gun lance users, that would mean fully like maybe a quarter of gun lance users have moved on. So it is actually a difference. You can also see that the hunting horn became less popular on the PC. This is not a surprise. Hunting horn has been floating around last place since when I started making these weapon popularity videos. Speaking of when I started making these weapon popularity videos, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is take all the old ones and make them private. I believe what's going on is YouTube has the ranking for the keywords for those videos ranked really well, and so people are finding like really old information, all my old data on weapon popularity. So I think I'll take those private to help people find this particular video. And maybe what I'll do is I'll leave a link to all of the old weapon popularity videos if you're just dying to know how your weapon ranked in the past, because as you can see, I'm only comparing across 2 months. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last group of data. This time we're looking at all of the figures across all of the consoles. So I'll just kind of go from weapon to weapon. Why don't we go left to right? We have longsword. Longsword is the least popular on Xbox, and I am not ashamed of that. I don't know. It always bothers me when people love one thing too much, but I shouldn't be too bothered. It's not a competitive game, and it's not the case that the longsword is the strongest weapon even, I believe. I'd argue that the bow is the strongest weapon in the game. I would argue that. I'm not 100% sure what weapon would be in second place, but I would bet that it's the spread ammo on the heavy bowgun. So we have the Insect Glaive in second place on Xbox, but Insect Glaive falls more toward the middle for PlayStation and PC. Then we have Dual Blades. Dual Blades generally rank high. They're third on Xbox. They are fourth on the PlayStation 4, and they're fifth in the PC. Then we have the bow coming in fourth place on the Xbox, kind of lower, whereas it's in second place for both the PlayStation and the PC. Charge Blade, once again, is one of those weapons that doesn't shift around too much. Fifth place on the Xbox, and then it's fifth place on the PlayStation, so the Xbox and the PlayStation actually agree on something, what do you know? And then the fourth place is going to be for a PC. Then we have the Greatsword, and the Greatsword on the Xbox used to rank really well. Now it's in 6th place, but it's still relatively high on the PlayStation and the PC. It's in 3rd place still. Finally, or not finally, we're halfway through the list is what I intend to say. We have the Hammer. The Hammer's really funny. The Hammer almost always floats right in the middle of the list. I don't know why, it just does. So it's in 7th place on the Xbox. It's a little lower, so on 9th place and 8th place on the PC and the PlayStation 4. Then we have the Switch Axe. Again, we're starting with Xbox. Switch Axe is in 8th place, 10th place, and 9th place. Sword and Shield is in 9th place, 12th place, and 11th place. Heavy Bowgun is in 10th place, 8th place, and 7th place, most popular on the PC. Light bowguns, oh right, I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Light bowguns are interesting on the PlayStation because they rank high on the PlayStation. So on the Xbox, they're in 11th place, and honestly, I feel like they kind of belong there. One of the problems with the light bowguns, in my opinion, don't crucify me in the comments for this, but I don't actually think the light bowguns are as strong as they should be. Some people would argue, well, you get better movement speed, you get better sheath speed, you can run support, but actually that's true for the Sword and Shield as well, and it still doesn't impress me that much. Damage is actually really important in this game, and light bowgun does its best damage with the elemental ammo. It's very legit when you get to the elemental ammo. However, that also means you're restricted to monsters that are affected strongly by elemental ammo, and there just aren't as many as you would like. Arch-Tempered Kulve is one. Thank God we have Arch-Tempered Xeno'jiiva, because that gave the light bowguns a second legitimate, serious monster to be used against. But it comes all the way in 11th place on Xbox, which I actually feel is appropriate, and then it jumps all the way up to 7th place on the PlayStation 4. What's up with that, PlayStation? Why you like the light bowgun so much? It's so interesting. It's the only platform where it outranks the heavy bowgun. In the other two platforms, it's always underneath the heavy bowgun. In fact, on the PC, it's like beneath the heavy bowgun by 2 ranks, 3 ranks, however you want to read the list. We have Gunlance in 12th place, 11th place, and 13th place. Very low on the list. And then finally, the Lance and the Hunting Horn are kind of competing for the worst spot. Hunting Horn in 13th place on Xbox, and then last place on the PlayStation and PC. And the Lance is in last place on the Xbox. It used to be last for the PC at some point. Now it's in third worst spot on PC, 12th place, and it's in 13th place on the PlayStation 4. So that was a lot of talking. But I figured we might as well be thorough, because I won't be revisiting the weapon popularity again until 2 months from now, and we will see how everything has shifted. Do you guys think that the QR weapons will shift the meta very much? You know, Arch-Tempered Kulve is coming back for the Appreciation event, which means a lot of people who hadn't finished farming her weapons are going to be picking up those elemental and those critical status weapons, and the critical status effect is going to be fixed, I heard it's going to be fixed in February, so that's good as well. And then the PC will eventually catch up to the consoles with Arch-Tempered Kulve. Not real soon, but eventually it will. So there is still a lot of time to see changes in the weapon popularity. How does it make you feel seeing all of the different, how everything ranks? What impression does that give you of the game? To me, it gives the impression that players really do like weapons that are fast, reactive, and high damage. It also tells me that they might be discriminating against weapons that maybe they don't do the best damage, and maybe they have shields. Also, the fact that the Hunting Horn has been at the bottom of the list the entire time tells me the thing about the Hunting Horn is you don't actually see it shift very much. It almost is always at the bottom, which means there's something about it that really could be improved. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure they can make it more fun and attractive. And I'm not saying that to piss off Hunting Horn users. It's kind of interesting. I feel sometimes when you have a weapon meta or tier ranking or popularity like we have here, you have people who are naturally attracted to whatever weapon is least popular. They become attracted to that. And then when you suggest like, hey, let's make this weapon stronger, let's make it better, they get really offended, even though it's their main weapon and they should be asking for buffs. But they get really offended, and I think I question if part of that is because A, they either think you just don't understand the weapon, which, surprise, surprise, I actually use the Hunting Horn a lot. I kind of do understand the weapon. Or 2, maybe they subconsciously don't want to see the Hunting Horn do well, because then maybe more of the mainstream audience would use it, and they would feel a bit invaded, like, no, this is my weapon, nobody else uses it. So sometimes I wonder that about the Hunting Horn. All right, that is everything I have to say about the weapon popularity. I want to thank you all for watching. If you want to support my work, consider donating $1 on Patreon. There is a link in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.